Hello and welcome today to Raw Sports Takes. Here with your host Miguel Sanchez. Today is Wednesday, it's November 13, 2024. Yesterday I was at work, and as you know, I'm a firefighter, paramedic, works 24 hours, so I'm not able to do my podcast like I would like to do on a Tuesday. But in today's episode, we're going to wrap up the NFL, what happened this weekend, which a lot of stuff happened. There was quite a bit of upsets here and there, and there's quite a few things that I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of stuff to talk about there about the NFL week. College week was also great. There's some pretty good upsets there too. So my quick thoughts on that also. It's going to be a quick podcast. I'm not going to talk too much, if any, about any of the other stuff. But I would like to start off this podcast actually with the Spurs. As you know, I live in San Antonio. I love the San Antonio Spurs. As rumors were spreading about Popovich there. First of all, I want him to get healthy. Hopefully he lives a good life. If he decides to retire after this scare for his medical reasons, and look like I've been hearing rumors about it ever since probably Monday or even before that I was thinking three things might have happened to him for the reason he's been held out so long. Three of them being, one of them either he had a heart attack, a stroke, or he had caught pneumonia or something like that. Usually that's what keeps people down at his age quite a bit, out of their coaching. And it came out today that he did have a mid-stroke. He's in rehab right now, and he's supposedly going to make 100% comeback and with no deficits. So hopefully that's good for him. I hate to lose him as a head coach for the simple reason that he is probably the greatest head coach of all time, NBA wise. A lot of people will argue that it's Phil Jackson. Even Red Auerbach will be another argument there with the Celtics. But I just don't see that. It's easy. It's not easy, but it's a lot easier back in the day to stay with one team. And the talent, as we all know, because of free agency. And back in the day, you didn't have free agency, so you didn't have players switching back and forth. Players also didn't have as much power as they do today, where they can pretty much scream and yell and go out on their social media how they're not happy, how life is unfair, how they're only getting paid $40 million this year to play basketball and bullshit like that. And they can actually get their way out of the NBA and actually move to another team and get traded. So it's a lot easier back in the day to coach such players, and in today's day, it's a lot harder, especially with Pop. I mean, Pop went from playing nothing but defense. He's known for defense, and he still is probably known for defensive coach. But also, he came up with a lot of great schemes there. He came up with that famous inbound play where the defender, where like it would be like a Manu Ginobili would drive a baseline, and then he would swing the ball out of bounds pretty much. He would throw the ball out of bounds to the other side of the corner where there was a back screen there, and he'll hit either Danny Green or Patty Mills on a three-point shot, or Bruce Bowen on a three-point shot. He'll make that. He made that very popular. Now it's a very popular play in the NBA. He innovated in the senses that he changed his scheme to fit his players, such as he went to down low post with a lot of David Robinson, Tim Duncan play, to a lot of pick and roll with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili as the years came by. And then also he started playing what a lot of people consider the beautiful game of 2014, where there was a lot of screens, a lot of three-point shots. And in reality, he kind of opened it up a little bit there for Steph Curry and for now the Splash Brothers, of like an innovation in the sense of we need to move away from the post game and more in the outside game and start shooting more three-pointers. So for that reason, he won 5 championships with the same team in a small market where nobody wants to come to San Antonio. And I don't blame him. I live in San Antonio, and it's hot as fuck all the time here. And it's really nothing to do for like a young 20-something-year-old that has a lot of money and wants to party and wants to get out in the limelight. There's no such things here like that. It's a small town. It's a big city in population-wise, but with a small-town mentality. And a lot of guys don't like that. So he did a great job of doing that. I don't think Phil Jackson, I don't think Red Auerbach, I don't think any great head coach can come into San Antonio, Pat Riley, and they can come into San Antonio and win 5 championships like that. Just name another smaller city that's a small market team like San Antonio. They have won championships like that. And one cannot think, or on top of my head, I cannot think of any other city that does that. So hopefully Pop gets healthy. Hopefully everything goes good with him. He comes back, and maybe this is the time with his healthcare that he decides to just uh, put away his whistle and just go ahead and retire and go drink wine, because I heard he loves drinking wine. So go drink wine somewhere else and just have a good time. Today is Wednesday. Yeah, I will be going to another Spurs game. I just went to the Spurs game. Was it the last one, which was a really good game there as far as Spurs wise. I don't think for the other team it was good, but it was good for the Spurs. But today's up against the Wizards, so hopefully they beat the Wizards. I think they're even favored to beat the Wizards, so that should be a pretty easy game there. And I like to start off with it. I've been watching a lot of national TV. Last game they played against Sacramento, and they just tore it up. They play very well defensively. They're probably one of the best defensive teams right now, top 5 right now in defensive rating. And now you're starting to see a lot of Stephen Castle growth as far as the player that he's getting comfortable. And he's created that. The only other player that I really seen do that Euro step stop kind of thing, where he takes the Euro step and then instead of just going up, he just stops. He just freezes, which it's funny because the defender doesn't freeze and he just goes over him or fouls him, and then he shoots it. Only other player that I actually seen a kind of move like that is Jimmy Butler, which a lot of people are now starting to talk about, and I see it now that somebody mentioned it. I forgot who mentioned it, but I'm starting to see it now. He looks like Jimmy Butler. His game, not himself, looks like Jimmy Butler, but his game looks a lot like Jimmy Butler. He could hit the mid-range. He could drive it in. He almost has the same body kind of type, real big, real physical, and he can get in there whenever he needs to get in there. He could drive it on pretty much anybody. The really, really impressive part was when they played against Minnesota. He took it to Gobert a few times, and he was not scared of getting blocked. Same thing in games. He's fearless. He plays with such smoothness and such coolness, like it doesn't faze him. He looks like he's a 4 or 5 year vet, but in reality he's only been in the league for a month now, 2. And he's really playing very well, so that was very impressive watching him against Sacramento. It was nice to see DeRozan also on the Sacramento Kings. I've always been a big DeRozan fan. I feel bad for him and what happened over there in Toronto. He never got to win that championship, but the way that's happened. But I've been watching a lot of national media and a lot of podcasts. It's just straight up talking shit about Wemby and his 3-point shooting, and how they wish that he would play on the post, and how he should be dominated in the post, and how the Spurs are ruining him, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, in my head, yes, I feel the same way. I feel like he should be playing more in the post, and she should be playing a lot better there and dominating also. But at the same time, it's kind of also like, I don't know, man. Like, I like to see him shoot the 3-pointer. Because if he could perfect the 3-pointer, and he has the last 2 games, he shot over 66% compared to the beginning of the year. He was shooting about 22 to 23% from the 3-point line. And he was just drilling them against Sacramento. And before that, who were they playing before that? Before Sacramento, the last 2 games, they were just killing them. Just straight up killing 3-pointers. Against the Jazz, that's who it was. He was playing against the Jazz. I believe he made over 5 3-pointers. And in this last game, he made 6 3-pointers. He's been shooting 66%. And as far as development, let's be real. The Spurs, this is the second year. They're not going to be competing for, in reality, any top 5 spot in the playoffs. It'll be a really shocker if they get into the 5th spot there in the playoffs, especially in a really tough Western Conference. Now, if they were playing in the East, that might be a different story, because with a 5-6 record in the East, I think they'll be 4th overall right now. Let's be real, in the NBA right now, the East is weak. It's pathetic. Nobody's playing up to the potential. The only really 2 teams that are really playing like this, like it's time to play basketball, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics on that side. Other than that, the other teams, such as the Milwaukee Bucks, who we thought were contenders, are playing really bad. Orlando Magic, all those other teams that were in the playoffs last year, even the Knicks, are playing terrible. They're not playing. It's weak. But in the West, 5-6 record gets you 12 overall in the conference, so that's a little different. So in that sense, since we're really not playing for anything unless they do some crazy-ass trade, which would not... It would shock me, because the Spurs are not known for trading for big players, superstars, disgruntled superstars. it's a way to develop. It's a way to develop Wembenyama, and it's a good way to develop him. Encourage him to shoot 3-pointers. It's not a big deal. Keep shooting them. Who cares? If you get really good at it, at shooting 3-pointers, and that's really his weak spot, and his weakness is shooting that three, because he has a pretty nice. He's shooting over 92% from the free throw line, I believe, and so he can shoot the mid range pretty easily. And when he's within 8 feet from the basket, he's dominant. Nobody's gonna stop him. Gobert didn't stop him. Djokovic is not gonna stop him. Joel Embiid's not gonna stop him. Hell no, Joel Embiid's not gonna stop him. Joel Embiid's probably gonna be hurt before they play the 76ers. So if that's your weak points, hey, get better at your weak points, and then that way you can really dominate the league. And then the league is really in for a shocker and for dominance from Wembanyama and the Spurs for several years. Of course, your pundits, your Stephen A. Smiths, your even Bill Simmons podcasts have been saying, and they've been screaming that he should be playing more in the post. And at the end, reality is, I mean, let's be real. What the fuck do you know about sports? What the fuck do you know about basketball? What the fuck do you know about coaching? Last time I checked, you motherfuckers are not coaches, are not players, have never coached, and never won anything as far as in sports. So for you to be screaming your head and be frustrated because he's not playing in the post, just sit the fuck down. And let's calm down. It's only his second year, okay? Chill out right there. And that's my whole thing on that. And that's when it's starting a little quick Spurs rant. Hopefully Sohan gets better in the next 4-6 weeks. I'm going to the Spurs game today against the Wizards, and I'll be going against the Lakers again Friday. So I'm watching them live. I highly encourage it. Of course, Spurs tickets are probably some of the most affordable tickets that you can go watch a Spurs game. Try to catch an LA Lakers game. I got a cousin right now from LA. He says that they're about $88 a ticket for nosebleeds. So that gives you a good idea how expensive they are up there in Los Angeles. But we're gonna get down now to, well, I want to talk about. I just wanted a quick rant about the Spurs and Wembanyama. We're gonna talk about right now the NFL week, your shockers. And I started off with the shockers of the game, of course, it's a lot of people would say Carolina was a shocker to beat the New York Giants in overtime. But in reality, let's be real, those are two terrible teams. And it's nothing really to talk about. Maybe talk about Bryce Young, how better he looked. One thing that did kind of shock me a little bit was the Chicago Bears New England Patriots game. I really thought the Bears would actually get their shit together and actually go back to running the ball. But apparently they don't know what the hell they do with a talented quarterback as Caleb Williams. If they're not careful, they're going to ruin Caleb Williams, and we might be looking into another Bryce Young kind of type of scenario where you freaking crush his confidence and he doesn't want to play ball anymore. So that's to me, that's the only shocker there, and that's the only shocking moment there. The big shocker of the game, of course, has to be Kansas City versus the Denver Broncos. As you know, if you were watching the game, you pretty much thought Denver Broncos should have won the game. 99 out of 100 people will tell you they kicked that chip shot field goal, which was a 35-yarder, and the game's over. But it just shows you how resilient and how good Kansas City really is, in a sense of they're well coached in every single aspect, and everything, special teams, defense, offense. That's how well they're coached and how well they execute. They found a weak point in that field goal kicking. I forgot which show I was watching where they were breaking down the field goal and how they figure out that guy was always landed on his ass, the offensive lineman that was blocking on the field goal in the last 2 or 3 tries, and they figure that that's a weak point there and they could have a chance to block it if they need to block a field goal. And guess what? It fucking happened. That's how good that team is. That's why even right now, if you were to put Detroit Lions, which they're hot as can be right now, that's another shocker right there. Well, not in reality shocker they won, but just in the way they won, I still would take Kansas City over Detroit Lions if they were to play in the Super Bowl right now. It's just you cannot bet against a well-coached Andy Reid team and Steve Spagnuolo on defense, and of course Patrick Mahomes. That was a good one. If you watch that Kansas City Chiefs game, it was tremendous to see. And then a credit is due. I got to give credit to the Denver Broncos though too. They're well coached. Sean Payne has found something there with Bo Nix, and he's really coached them up to the point where they had that drive. I mean, they should have won. They drove it all the way down, left no time left, and they were going to kick a field goal, but it ended up not being like that. But you still got to give them credit. Defense played tough there for the Broncos too, and they could technically sneak into the playoffs there, Denver, and we'll see what happens. I mean, like I always said, defense wins championship, and they have the good defense to do it, and Bo Nix is efficient enough to win the game. The other one, mini shocker there, would have had to be New Orleans versus Atlanta. New Orleans to go in there and just smack Atlanta, and beat them by 3 points. Of course, we know it's not a lot of points and not a smackdown, but still, Atlanta should have won that game. Those are the games kind of like you think about. This is what also makes you think like sometimes Kirk Cousins it's not enough. I mean, Kirk Cousins is just kind of he plays very well sometimes, and sometimes he just shits the bed, and that's the reason they're probably going to make the playoffs, maybe even as the 4th seed, probably the 4th seed there, because they'll win the NFC South. But they're probably losing the first round because Kirk Cousins, I just don't believe in him. I don't think he's good enough to win games by himself when you really need him to pull it. It's just one of those things. Pittsburgh Steelers, that was another great game. Washington Commanders. I think the Commanders got, even though I'm a Cowboys fan, unfortunately, as you guys know, and I'll get to that later on. I think that game was stolen from the Commanders. That was a first down. That was a 4th down. If you weren't watching there, the final drive of the Commanders, Jalen Daniels throws the ball to his tight end, and he throws it right at the first round mark, and they mark him short. And even on the replays, they said that he was still short. I don't think he was short. I think if you watch the replay overs and overs, he had the first down, and he should have got the benefit of the doubt and got the first down, and the game should have kept going. And technically, then the Commanders should have had a chance to kick a field goal and win the game. But that didn't happen. Apparently, the refs had some money. Probably had some money with the Steelers, and that's probably why they didn't win. San Francisco 49ers versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was a pretty good game. It wasn't a good game. It was two mediocre teams playing each other. Both of them might be wild cards, and both of them are not going to do anything. But I gotta give more credit to Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's growing on me little by little. He's been able to do something with nothing. He has players there that we never heard of playing for him. He doesn't have his big weapons, and he found a way to play really good against that defense and really bring it up. The Niners, the reason I don't think they're going to be a contender this year is just for the simple reason that their special teams is garbage. Straight up garbage. The kicker missed 3 field goals to the point where Devo Samuel wanted to choke the shit out of him or beat the fuck out of that field goal kicker, but the long snapper got in the way, so he got choked. Almost got choked, I guess. So that created a confrontation, and that's going to be a weak spot and a weak point, I think, for the Niners. It's the special team. Is the kicker. As we know, sometimes with kickers, if their confidence, and I repeat it, and I know I repeat it many times, kickers are not football players. If their confidence gets broken, they're pretty much broken, and they're not able to kick ever again, and you never hear from them again, and they get replaced by another kicker. So that might end up happening there to Jake Moody. It's just he's just having a really bad year, and we'll see what happens if they get better. But if their special teams doesn't get any better, and again, Christian McCaffrey looked good on his return decently, but and now you're scared. Now you're scared that he might actually tear an Achilles, because usually when you have back calf issues, Achilles is the next to be broken. Hopefully that doesn't happen and they play better and they get healthier, but that's the thing with the 49ers. They play very hard, they play very physical, and that is not sustainable over long seasons. So we'll see what happens there. There's 2 teams, like I said, Buccaneers and 49ers. They're just might be wild cards, and they might be good enough to play in the wild card, maybe get to the second round, but I don't think they make it past there. They're not contenders at all. I don't think the Steelers are contenders either. I'll go back to the Steelers game. I think they're pretenders. I really think I just can't get that loss. Maybe because Russell Wilson wasn't playing against the Cowboys, but it's just one of those things that I just don't believe that they're sustainable just throwing the long bomb every single time. I mean, what's going to happen when they start playing 2 deep safeties, and then they're going to keep trying to run the ball, which they have a decent running game, but they don't have the best running game, and I don't think it's sustainable for them to keep running the ball or the way they do it, or keep throwing the long ball. Eventually, their teams are going to adjust to it, and that's when you're going to really start seeing the Russell Wilson we've seen for the last 2 years, which is not the good Russell Wilson. nothing to talk about too much about the Chargers and Tennessee Titans game. Chargers did what they needed to do and just dominate, play very well. Like I said, from the beginning of the year, I think the Chargers are a playoff team, and they might actually win a game or two in the playoffs. They're super well. Their head coach, always been a big fan from the beginning. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to be able to get them there, and they're playing a lot nastier. They're playing a lot better defense. Over the last 3 years, they had really good talent on the defensive side, but they seem like they never get it together. But this year, they're playing physical, and they're playing with more defense than offense, really. And so I could see them really making some damage there. I guess my next game that I will get to, and I'm going to skip the next two games because I'm going to go on a complete rant on these next two games. So I'm going to talk about the Detroit Lions and Houston Texans real quick. Real good game. And this game does deserve me to talk about. First thing first, let's get it straight. That Texans uniform, holy shit. It is bad. It was terrible. I don't know what the hell was going on. Maybe it was the TV that I was watching the game on, and they looked like it was like a maroon, like a pinkish red. It didn't look quite red. Again, I was at work this day on Sunday. I was working some overtime, so maybe that shitty TV that I had that I was watching in it, they look kind of pinkish, the uniforms, but I was not a fan of those uniforms. Just like I was not a fan of the Baltimore Ravens uniforms on Thursday night, I was not a fan of these uniforms. They look like complete garbage. They had like a horn thing coming out of the helmet. It looked really super weird. But CJ Stroud played the game. The first half, he played the game of his life the first half. He was just tearing them up. Just game after game, after throw after throw. When they needed him the most, he threw it there. On the other side, Jared Goff seemed to just wanted to give the game away and just kept throwing pick after pick after pick. Something that's interesting that I always find really interesting when I'm watching these games is the little stats they give you, the little tidbits. Like one of the tidbits was Jared Goff is the first quarterback to throw 5 picks and be down by 15 points and win the game since 1972, whatever team they were playing at that time. And in my head, because I watch a lot of Cowboys game, I was like, I don't know about that one. I mean, maybe the 15-point loss, but I remember when Tony Romo threw 5 picks on a Monday night game against the Buffalo Bills, and he won the game, which he had no business of winning the game because he threw 5 picks. But now I was thinking in my head, how many points were they down by at that game? Because it seems like they specifically pick 11. It specifically picked 15 points, which it was kind of weird, like 15 points. Yeah. So it makes me think, and I have to do some research on this game, which was probably kind of crazy. If you remember that game, he threw 5 picks, but he was able to bring him back. And had Nick Folk was a Cowboys kicker at the time, and Nick Folk ended up kicking the game-winning field goal, which was over a 50-yarder, which at that time he had to kick it twice because the Buffalo Bills called the timeout. So they actually had to kick it twice, and he drilled it twice each time, so they won the game. So that was kind of crazy to think, but that's the first game that I thought about, like, man, that was he threw 5 picks. I mean, because they go, since 1972, somebody with 5 picks hasn't won the game, and the first thing I thought was, no, Tony Romo did it. He threw 5 picks and he won the game. But I don't think they were down by 15. I'll have to double check on that one to see exactly how many points they were down by. But they were down quite a bit. I think it was double digits because I was about to lose my shit in that game. That game was a stupid game. It was going crazy. But the good quarterbacks, and that's funny because I'm going to say the good quarterbacks find a way to... they find a way to win games, but at the same time, it's kind of like also, at the same time, I don't think Jared Goff is that great of a quarterback. And I say that quietly because I don't know how I feel about Jared Goff. Because there's a reason Jared Goff got traded. Let's be real. Where the Rams got rid of him and they borrowed Matthew Stafford and automatically they won a Super Bowl pretty much. Of course, they made a little bit more different moves, but still it's crazy enough. And I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and I told him, how would you feel if the Lions, this is before the trade line, if the Lions traded for Matthew Stafford back, would they do it? Or how would the team feel about it? And the dynamics of the locker room and all that stuff would not be good, of course. But at the same time, as you think about it really hard, you're like, No, actually, I think that team would be fucking really good with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford with those weapons, with that offensive line, and back in Detroit, let's be real and let's talk about this. Jared Goff is the weak point of that team. He really is. If you replace him with Matthew Stafford, that team has no weak points. The defense is really looking better every single time now. They were able to get stops. They were able to get interceptions when they needed it the most in that game, in the game against the Texans. So they came up big when they needed. And now that, of course, Smith wasn't playing, the player they just traded for from the Cleveland Browns, the pass rushers, he wasn't playing. So starts playing and they actually start getting somewhat of a decent pass rush, this team is going to get better on defense. They got playmakers on defense. Deion Branch, they got Deion Branch there. They got that other cornerback. They got the interception the other night. And they got the linebackers, Campbell, and all of them. They could play. They could play really good. McNeil, hopefully he's good. Hopefully they didn't get hurt, the defensive tackle. He's been playing really excellent this year. So they're going to get better on defense with a good pass rusher in Smith. On offense, the offensive line is great. All of them pretty much are really good. They got an injury at left tackle, but the left tackle, there was their skipper, actually ended up playing very well, the replacement for him. Their running backs are tremendous. Montgomery, Gibbs, stupid good. And then you have the wide receivers, of course. Williams is good. St. Brown is really good. So, and then Laporta, which they haven't been using quite often, really freaking good also. But then you think about, well, then what's the weak point? Then the weak point has to be the quarterback. The quarterback's the only weak point. And it showed this game. He went back and actually threw. At one point, he had almost as much interceptions as he had completions. So hopefully they get that corrected. Hopefully they're able to. Ben Johnson's a very smart head coach. Not head coach. I call him a head coach already because I'm pretty sure he's going to be a head coach. But I'm pretty sure that they'll get it corrected eventually. And eventually they're not going to put Jared Goff in those kind of situations. And hopefully they correct that. Or maybe there's just an anomaly and he's able to play better. But that's the Jared Goff I remember. That's the Jared Goff I remember from the Rams. At the Jared Goff I remember at the first year with the Lions, and that's the Jared Goff I kind of remember at the end of last year at the half. He makes dumb mistakes sometimes, and that's what happens. But they were able to come back. They answered quite a few questions. They answered the questions in the sense of they answered that they could come back. They could come back after being down, after making a lot of mistakes. They could really come back and actually get going and actually make it a game and win. And they did that this game. So congratulations to them. They're looking better. And it's looking like it's going to be a Detroit Lions versus Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl, which is not a bad Super Bowl. It's actually a really good Super Bowl to watch. The other game that I'm going to talk about real quick, Dolphins versus the Rams. I really thought Matthew Stafford was going to play better and bring it back. But it ended up being a win by the Miami Dolphins, 23-15. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to Tua. It seems like Tua is the guy there and that makes everything going. So if Tua ends up winning the next, what is it? They're 2-6 right now, so 8 games in. If he ends up winning 8 out of the last 9 games, I'm guessing. Was it 8 of the next game? It will be 10. Yeah, 8 of the last 9 games. Tua should be the MVP of the league. Plain and simple. You go from being 1-6 or 1-5, whatever the record was before Tua got hurt, and then you go on and win the next 8 out of 9 games, make the playoffs, maybe make some noise in the playoffs, then he deserves the MVP then. I don't see that happening. Unfortunately for Tua, every single time he runs, it's real cringy, and I feel like he's gonna get hit and he's gonna get hurt. But congratulations to him. He decided to keep playing. Hopefully he starts wearing the guarding helmet to protect them, double protect them from concussions, and he gets better. But it was a surprise. It was a shocker. I did not expect him. I really thought Matthew Stafford with Puka and Cooper were really going to get going there, and that was going to be for them to score 15 points. Actually, is more of a sign of the defense is playing a lot better for the Miami Dolphins. They still got playmakers in Jalen Ramsey there. So who knows? They might be able to make some noise there. I don't think they catch up to the Bills, but they should be able to play better. That's my quick take on that game. That was probably another shocker there. So we had some really big shockers, and then we had little shockers like that. The games that I really want to talk about, and now I'm going to go off a little bit and deserve a little bit more time, it has to be the Arizona Cardinals beating the living shit out of the fucking Jets. As you guys know, I'm not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. The quarterback's pretty good, but not the last 2 years, 3 years quarterback. So he looks like garbage. He looks like shit. He plays like shit. And he's starting to realize that he should have maybe never left the Packers. A big thing that the Packers always did every single year, and I always thought that was a well-organized organization there in a sense that they always built on the trenches. I always been a big fan of the trenches. If you're gonna build a team, you should build the offensive line, defensive line before you start getting your little fancy toys as far as your wide receivers and running backs. If you have a quarterback there, protect the damn quarterback. That is the most valuable player in the whole damn team. That is the number one star that it's hard to find. Protect the damn guy then. Don't fucking just go out there and just start getting him fancy toys. It doesn't matter if he has a really good wide receivers. If you can't get him the fucking ball, what does that matter? You might as well have freaking, what's his face? I can't think of Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's quarterback. Zach Wilson might as well be the quarterback. They probably have the same record with Zach Wilson this year. They with Aaron Rodgers. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers forgot how to play. He didn't forget how to play football, because when he has a clean pocket, he can actually get it down. The problem is that he never has any time to throw, and now he might be regretting that he left the Packers, because the Packers every single year protected him and drafted a good offensive lineman to keep him clean. Now he's learning what that means. For him to go 207 total yards, 0 for 3 in the red zone, and they score 6 effing points, which I think it was the season low points. That's it. You're done for. Jets are done. They're cooked. There's no way they're going to come back from this and play better. There's no way Aaron Rodgers is going to find something, a magical potion, or go into his fucking dark cave that he likes to, whatever the hell it is called, go into darkness and get better at it, unless he takes his whole defensive line and finds a fountain of youth in there and all of them get younger by 10 years. This is not going to work out. The defense plays as hard as they can, and you can only play so hard for so much, but eventually the freaking floodgates just keep coming. They just break. The dam just breaks, and the points start pouring in. And unfortunately for Aaron Rodgers, that's it. This is it for him. I don't think he comes back. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't know if they end up trading him next year. I think they didn't even can trade him. They might just cut him, and that's it. That's it for them. And the Jets, at this point, you already lost. You might as well hit Aaron Rodgers' ass down. Play whoever you have as a backup to see if you have something in a younger backup. I don't think they have any younger backup. I think their backup might be a vet. I think he's a vet. I can't remember his name right now, but I think he is a vet. And so they don't have a young backup quarterback right now. So maybe try to play Aaron Rodgers and see if he can get you back. I doubt it, but if he does not be able to get you back, then might as well just tank and look at drafting a quarterback, because you desperately need a moving quarterback and you need some offensive line help. You can't just be signing freaking old offensive linemen like Tyron Smith, Tyron Smith with the Dallas Cowboys was a tremendous offensive tackle, a Hall of Famer for sure, but he's toward the end of the career where he cannot move the same way he used to. You cannot just be freaking getting ex-Packer offensive linemen and wide receivers and expect them to play good. Let's be real. Devontae Adams is not the same receiver. He's not even a top 15 receiver anymore. He's not the Packers receiver. He is not even the freaking Raiders receiver from 2 years ago. He's just showing himself, and he's not going to be able to do any good. The only good thing that's going for Gang Green, I guess, another high draft pick. And guess what? You're going to miss the playoffs again for another record drought that you have not made the playoffs. Congratulations, Jets. You freaking win all in. You really win all in. And the next thing that I'm going to go off of is in my favorite team. But you really went all in, and it's just exploded in your face. But that's what you expect out of Aaron Rodgers. You made a deal with the devil. He became the GM. He became the head coach, the offensive coordinator. And that's what happens when you deal with an old-ass player not named Tom Brady. I'm sorry. He's not the GOAT. He's not even close to the GOAT. His ego is the GOAT. But he's not. That's not going to get you wins. That's not going to get you protection. So, good job, Aaron Rodgers. You're a fucking dumbass. And everything that's coming to you, you deserve it for being stupid. And congratulations to the Cardinals. Cardinals play a hell of a game. They play really tough. They ran the ball. Kyler Murray, like I said, when he wants to play and stop playing Call of Duty, he also wants to play football. He actually is a really good player. Hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully this doesn't get injured, and maybe he actually makes a run there and has a really good chance of winning the NFC West there. The next team that I'm going to move on to is they're not even deserved to be called the Dallas Cowboys. They might be called the Jerry Jones Cowboys. They got destroyed, and I figured they will get destroyed in this game, and it went just exactly the thought the way it was going to go. And it went in the sense that you're watching the first half and you're watching like, damn, the defense is playing balls out right now with Michael Parsons. I guess Michael Parsons listened to my podcast and decided that he stopped fucking around and actually playing like a defensive player of the year and was really getting to the quarterback and pressuring. But like I said, when your defense, just like the Jets, when your defense is playing hard and holding it down for a while, eventually the dam is going to break and the points are going to start flooding in. And that's what happened in the second half. They just started getting gouged. The Cowboys should have been up in this game in the beginning of the game, but somehow they found a way to fuck it up. And I mean, the way of fucking it up is I guess when they were building the stadium and they came up to Jerry Jones and told him, hey, you know that the sun shines right here on the field around 3 p.m. Maybe we should build some curtains, or maybe we should build the windows in another area, or orientate the fucking stadium a different way. And of course, Jerry Jones probably fucking doubled down and said, no, I'm going to keep it this way because I'm Jerry Jones and I can do whatever the fuck I want. Well, guess what? You did. You fucked it up. How bad can you fucked up? How more expensive could damn curtains be to put some curtains there and close the damn thing? And if you're watching the game, you exactly know what play I'm talking about on the end zone. They throw the ball and pretty much CeeDee Lamb does not any attempt at trying to catch it because he's if you watch the camera from that view, you could clearly see the sun. You can't see the ball at all. And I don't blame him for that. I really don't. It's a mistake. The way the stadium was built. And it's stupid. And at the same time, Kellen Moore came out at the end of the game and said, due to the way the sun shines in that stadium, you got to call certain plays a certain way. How the fuck does Mike McCarthy doesn't know that he's been there for almost 3-4 years now? I have no idea. But that just goes to the incompetence and Jerry Jones trying to stick with Mike McCarthy for the last 2 years. Mike McCarthy should have got fired last year when the Cowboys got their ass embarrassed by the Packers, but decided to keep him. So you know what? Fuck him. Fuck Jerry Jones and fuck the Cowboys. I hope they keep losing and keep getting destroyed every single game. Because it's just, there's no way to correct this. There's no way. Because if they do something good, then Jerry Jones is going to take all credit for it. But of course, shit is hitting the fan. And of course, he's blaming everybody, pretty much. And which is kind of stupid. Only bright light about the Cowboys is maybe play Trey Lance for the next 8 games that they have left. See what you have in Trey Lance. See if you have anything in him. Maybe he's able to tear it up and do something good. And maybe he gives you trade value and you ever trade him away. Or decide to trade Dak Prescott. I don't know how that will work or something like that. But other than that, you're doing the thing over and over again, and it's coming up with the same results. You're pathetic. It looks bad. And the worst part about it is that the Eagles, your biggest rival, was just shitting on you and just kept shitting on you in that game. And I don't blame them. And I hope the next team they play, which is the Texans, hope the Texans beat the fucking living shit out of the Cowboys again. Hope C.J. Stroud goes for another 500 yards, throws for 6 touchdowns, and just embarrass the crap out of the Cowboys. That's the only way this team is ever going to learn. They have to really put the pressure on Jerry Jones to do something there. But I have a feeling that he's not. Jerry Jones is in love with himself. He's a narcissist. And that's his toy. And nobody else is going to play with that toy because that's the Dallas Cowboys there. That is his fucking toy. And that's the only thing he's going to play with. And he's going to let nobody else take control of it until the day he dies. And even the day he dies is freaking... his family's still going to own the team, and his family's probably going to run it the same shitty way. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be a Cowboys fan. It's embarrassing to say to even tell people I'm a Cowboys fan because they just suck so freaking bad. And it's always hilarious because it's always the same little quick remarks with the Cowboys. Well, they suck. Well, Jerry Jones sucks, and Dak Prescott sucks. Well, what are you going to do? It's just, I don't know. I do not know what to do. I'll tell you this much. The only thing that might make sense for the Dallas Cowboys is, and I'll say it right now, a lot of people are saying Deion Sanders is the next head coach. I get it. He has some connections to the Cowboys. But in reality, the only person that Jerry Jones might be able to trust to actually make some moves and actually kind of give him some power as a head coach and as a general manager to get his own players is none other than Tony Romo. I think Tony Romo should be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys for that simple reason. I think he's smart. You listen to the game, you listen to how he breaks down the game and the broadcast. I know it's totally different from coaching, but I would like to see him as the head coach just because Jerry Jones will actually give him a lot more leeway. And I think Jerry Jones will actually listen to him when it comes to certain players that he wants to play, certain players he wants on the team, certain shit like that. I think it is. I know a lot of people saying Deion Sanders, but I'm thinking Tony Romo. Of course, if I'm Tony Romo and you come up to me and you tell me I want you to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, I would say fuck no. I would say go fuck yourself. There's no way I'm going to take that job. Of course, I would say it in a nice, polite way. But in my head, I'll be thinking that there's no way I'm going to go coach the Dallas Cowboys with the whole stress, with the damn freaking owner / GM talking shit about me every single chance he gets, or taking the interviews and getting the spotlight away from the players and from me every single time, taking credit when he doesn't deserve any credit for it, or blaming the players and coaches when the blame should be on him. No, I would not take that job. And I'm going to get paid a lot less. What, they're going to pay me, $6 million maybe at most every single year, when right now I'm getting paid about $20 million to broadcast and work, 17 weeks, or with the playoffs, work about 22, 23 weeks out of the year, and with no stress at all. Yeah, hell no, I'm not going to do that. But like I said, maybe he does. Maybe he decides to take the challenge and say, maybe I could be that guy. Didn't do it as a football player, but maybe I could do it as a head coach and change this whole players and go change this whole organization. Maybe he does that, and maybe he takes it. I think he will be a great pick. I think he'll surround himself with really good other coaches around him, assistant coaches. Right now, the best player on the Cowboys is Michael Parsons, of course. The second best player, who is not a football player, is the kicker, and Aubrey. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if my prediction comes true. We'll see if rumors start coming out there that he wants to offer the job to Jerry Jones, to Tony Romo. That is my rant on the Cowboys. I right now really hate them. And hate is a strong word, but I really hate them right now. I hate what we become. We become a laughing. This is how much I'm having a fucking stroke talking about them. They have become a laughing stock of the whole NFL. Right now, if I'd rather be a Bears fan right now. Even though I still got Caleb winning. Shit, I might even rather be a damn Jaguars fan with Trevor Lawrence. I might even, I'd rather be a Giants fan at this point. They're in a better situation right now. You know they're going to get rid of Daniel Jones. They know they're going to get rid of the head coach. You know they're going to get rid of the GM and actually replace everybody there and start from scratch and do something new. You know what the Cowboys are not going to do? They're not going to get rid of their head coach right now. They're not going to get rid of their GM for sure. And the owner they're not going to get rid of. So that same shit's going to keep happening over and over again. Mediocrity, stupidity, insanity, everything of that. That's it. That's my podcast for today. I'll try to calm down right now. We'll do a podcast later on Friday this week. Like I said, I have a Spurs game today, and I'll have a Spurs game Friday. So we'll talk a little bit more Spurs. We're trying to introduce a little bit more NBA here and there as the season goes along. And stay safe out there. Have a great weekday. And the weekend's only about 2 more days, guys. So hold on there. Have a good time. Spend a lot of time with your family when you ever get a chance. Really spend time with the family. You're never going to get that time back. I have a little boy myself and my wife. That's 2 things I love more than anything in the world. More than doing this podcast. More than working. More than anything. I love them. And just when times get hard, and just remember you have your family. Give them a hug. Give them a kiss. In my line of work, sometimes you hear stories where they were okay then earlier in the day, but today they deteriorated and they died the next day, and they weren't able to tell them they love them or hug them. So make sure you do that. Make sure you do that. We want to end this podcast with a positive note. Make sure you go over there, give your wife, get your girlfriend or your loved ones, give them a kiss, hug them. And at the end of the day, it's always going to be you guys together. Hold them strong and keep the love going there. Have a great weekday, and I'll talk to you guys later on.